Hi, everybody, again. What a wonderful session. And Marjan, again, congratulations for making change and being the change. And we are so honored to have you as the World Women Honoree of 2023. With that, we move on to the next session. We are just skipping the break, knowing that we are a little bit, behind. I would love to invite Janneidy from BMW for moderating the session with Dr. Emma Andrews. But before that, we'll play the video.
I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And I break the role by giving permission to my girls and young women around the world to really reach for their wildest dreams. My name is Emma Andrews, and I'm Vice President of Global Patient Advocacy at Pfizer. I am doing the unexpected by redefining what a woman in healthcare looks like. I was born in Kampala, Uganda, East Africa, but really grew up in Cote d'Ivoire. And I'm one of 7 siblings, so we're a family of 9. Similar to many other families, we fled Uganda during the Idi Amin era. And that's because my dad was a political prisoner for 11 months, and he was one of the lucky ones who survived. So we fled Uganda and resettled in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. My mom, Veronica Namulondo, is one of my biggest influences. And it started down just really observing how she interacted with patients at the rural clinic where she volunteered. You could see that the healthcare system in Uganda was a lot more fractured after several years of civil war. Then we went to Abidjan, which was not as fractured, but you could still see the inequities when we came to rural versus urban settings. I just felt that it was unjust. Your zip code shouldn't dictate what kind of quality healthcare you get. And her influence was me wanting to do something about those inequities. And that led me to the path of becoming a pharmacist and getting my Doctor of Pharmacy degree. My team and I, we're responsible for leading the company's efforts of embedding the patient perspective across everything we do, from the earliest points in discovery to when a medicine is prescribed anywhere in the world. And then Aunt Pros taught me the importance of humility. She was the first female engineer, not only in Uganda, but in entire East Africa. I mean, someone would think that she would lead with that, but no. The important thing for her, too, is to pull others up. So she's made really a commitment to be a vocal about women in STEM. And then my second auntie is Auntie Liz. She had a 30-year career working with non-governmental agencies, and her career culminated as her being Deputy Director of the United Nations Development Program. So from her, I learned the importance of listening and the importance of inclusive leadership. And then finally, in my career at Pfizer, one that stands out is Dr. Frida Lewis Hall. She was the first Black female Executive Vice President Chief Medical Officer.
Emma was responsible for establishing the Pfizer pharmacist engagement platform. This was perfect because she's so great at engaging and connecting.
And I remember reaching out to her and saying, I'd love to meet with you to just get your thoughts on my career aspirations. And she responded and made time.
So she came to me and asked for some career advice. And I asked her a question that I often ask, which is, what brings you joy? Because if you know what that is, then your passion shines through and you can't hold your authentic self back anymore. And it's been so exciting to see her grow and develop and deliver so much on behalf of patients.
The things that stick with me and I try and embody in my leadership is making sure that I make space, but also making sure I always think about what brings me joy. I absolutely love that I'm being of service to patients on a global scale.
I think Emma's superpower is connecting and including. She has the ability to connect to people, whoever they are, wherever they're from. I said included, and lots of leaders include people. But making people feel included, that's magic, and Emma has that.
I started my career in the community and hospital settings. There, I became acutely aware of how sometimes patients would walk in not really understanding what their diagnosis was, what their medicine was. And I realized the issue lies with the healthcare professional for us to be able to talk in a manner that patients can understand and that lead to activation. So that's where my passion for health literacy kind of was born. Health literacy simply means that you can share health information in a manner that can understand and that leads to activation.
Patients need a voice. And whether you're the translator for them, you're the amplifier for them, this is so critically important. Now, I've seen patient advocacy change, and I've seen Emma change it. And it's gone from asking for, demanding what we think you need as scientists, as healthcare professionals, to partnering with patients to help advocate for what they say they need.
The fact that our entire portfolio of innovative and off-patent medicines is going to be made available to 1.2 billion people in low and middle income countries at a not-for-profit cost gives me that energy to get up every day and do more. My husband and my daughters are my raison d'etre. You know, they really ground me, but also I'm an avid yogi and love the practice of it. Self-care, honestly, is something that's so important, but it didn't really come to light until I was in my 30s when I realized, you know what, I really needed an outlet. And I am so happy that I found yoga. It's such a central part of who I am and how I, re-energize and recalibrate. If young girls and women feel empowered, they will show up differently and be really true to themselves. And what does that mean? Giving them the tools they need, the mentoring, making sure that they build their network, making sure that they know that they stay true to themselves. Don't be afraid to be different, because your idea that you're afraid of might be the one that's actually going to change the world and change the way we're doing things. I'm honored to be a part of World Women Hour because of the women that shaped who I am today, and also because I'm very optimistic about the future leaders that are coming along, but also being very intentional that I'm also playing a role to be able to develop and bring those young leaders along.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? First, thank you for having me. I'm here. My name is Janneidy Velazquez. I'm sure you've heard that name many times in your lives. I am with BMW North America. I'm the senior lead in diversity, equity, and inclusion for the marketing communications department within the organization. And I have the distinct honor of representing and being a part of the decision-making of our women's ERG group to honor Dr. Emma Andrews, who's Pfizer's Vice President for Global Patient Advocacy. As you've seen on the screen just now, she is the leading organizations in patient advocacy and fighting for many in the past for immigrant rights. Gracias. If that's not enough to admire and to really achieve, she also has she dotes on two lovely daughters. And we're really honored that she accepted the award, and thank you, World Women Foundation, for allowing us to present her on behalf of BMW. Emma, would you please come to the stage?
Thank you so much, Janneidy. It's indeed an honor to be here with you and to be here with all the other honorees. I'm indeed humbled and grateful. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge publicly the 4 women who have influenced who I am today. As you saw in the video, my mother, Veronica Namalondo, my aunties, Auntie Liz Luanga King and Auntie Proskovia Njuchi Luanga, and my friend and mentor, Dr. Frida Lewis Hall. They have taught me how to lead with compassion, with inclusiveness, with humility, and to mentor others and make space for women, and to always find joy. And then my daughters, Isabel and Olivia, who really inspire me to be the best version of myself every day. And my dear husband, Dennis Andrews, who's actually in the audience today, who's my really my cheerleader from day one. So thank you again. I had to acknowledge that.
Thank you. That's lovely. I mean, you have such a grace to you that I feel humbled, and I'm sure everyone here does as well. Well, first, I'd like to say congratulations and thank you again for accepting the award. Please, Dr. Andrews, let us know more about your role at Pfizer, all the work that you're doing, and where you are now. What are you leading as we speak?
Okay. No, thank you for that. And maybe I'll tell you a little bit about my career journey and how I arrived to where I am today. So I started out I'm a pharmacist by training. And when I joined Pfizer 2 decades ago, I joined as a study manager in clinical pharmacology. And since then, you've heard from the video, I've had different roles with increasing responsibility in operations as a study manager, then as a clinician running my own clinical trials, then moved into a pure strategic role in external medical affairs, and then in medical affairs, where I was a regional lead in Latin America, a global lead, a team lead for the women's health franchise. And then most recently, currently, I'm the vice president of global patient advocacy at Pfizer. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be able to lead a team of about 35 colleagues in 17 countries, where we engage with our colleagues who are patient-facing in the industry to really embed the patient perspective in everything we do, from the earliest points in discovery to when a prescription is prescribed anywhere in the world. And how do we do that? I think Frida alluded to that, in that patient advocacy has changed. We do that by ensuring that we're listening and learning from the patient perspective, acting as partners with accountability and integrity to deliver the outcomes that matter most to patients and those involved in their care. And we do that, why? Because our purpose at Pfizer, the reason we exist as a company, is to bring breakthrough medicines and vaccines that change patients' lives. So what we do is for patients, and we must make sure that we do it with patients. And my group every day gets up every day to make sure that we're upholding our commitment. I also wanted to add that really I'm sitting here, but really I represent 45,000 plus female badass leaders at Pfizer. And I'm here on their behalf.
You couldn't have said it better. Well, I often say when I speak to my fellow colleagues, fellow members of ERG groups, we oftentimes, by our human nature, is to always admire step Z. We never take time to contemplate steps A through Y, because we want to see the glamour, we want to see you on the platform. But please share with us what many of us, but in your walk, in your journey, what are some of the challenges that you face before being able to be here on, what I call step Z?
I think actually this is a conversation we should really talk more about. Because you know what? It's really hard to be something that you cannot see. It's even harder when those around you doubt that you deserve a seat at the table. So when I joined Pfizer over 2 decades ago, I joined as a study manager at a really entry-level position in clinical pharmacology. But I was also in school pursuing my doctoral pharmacy degree. And when I graduated, I alluded at this in the video, I became a clinician running my own clinical trials in HIV, malaria, and neglected tropical diseases. So that switch from a study manager to clinician was actually a hard one, because both internal and external stakeholders doubted that I was a clinician. They usually thought I was a study manager, and in some cases even thought that I was the admin. But I was lucky that I had a male boss who advocated for me. I had male allies who advocated for me even in my absence. Because 2 decades ago, I didn't have any role models that looked like me. But really what I say is that it shouldn't be about luck. We need to continue to nurture the future leaders in healthcare or in any arena. We need to make sure that we make space at the table, even though sometimes it will mean building a whole new table. And we also need to encourage our male counterparts and colleagues to continue to support women.
Thank you. So, as a global leader in health equity and being a mother of two and a beautiful wife, I think I heard you say that earlier, correct? What advice would you give to other women who are in leadership roles?
Well, I have two things, is that, do never underestimate the power of your voice. Because often we're afraid to speak up. It might be that we're worried that the idea we have will be ignored, is not innovative enough, is not welcome, whatever it is. I say you're afraid anyway, so you might as well speak up. Because your idea, like I mentioned, might be the one that will change the world. Another thing I say is that dream big. Dream big. One of my favorite humans is the former president of Liberia, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And she famously said, if your dreams do not scare you, they're not big enough. So dream big.
That's lovely. Thank you for that. So we thank you for the advice on women who are in leadership roles. Now, what advice would you give for the ladies here? Because the work never ends, correct? It's continual. And as Rupa said, this is our tribe that we're developing. What would you give as an advice for women to continue and to dream big?
Well, really pursue your dreams, and really your dreams should really exceed your current capacity, so dream big. But one thing I also wanted to touch on is that it's really important to find balance. And I feel that it's not always just up to the individual to find balance, but it's also up to institutions to make sure that we're supporting women and we're offering structures that are supporting them both professionally and personally as well. So on that note, I just wanted to really say, I have a Pfizer proud moment that I wanted to share with all of you. What happens when our leaders are intentional and set clear goals with metrics. So when it comes to, we're leading in this space when it comes to being very intentional about setting goals with clear metrics when it comes to gender equitable pay, paternity and maternity leave. And then a really important program that I'm proud of is that our leaders have committed to increasing the representation of women at senior leaders in the organization. That's VP level and above. And not just women in general, but also minority women. So since the program launched in 2019, we have increased the representation of women at the VP level and above from 33% to 43%. And that of minority women from 19% to 28%. So clearly, there's more work to be done. But see what happens when you're intentional and you set goals with clear metrics. That's one thing I wanted to say. And then another thing, it's also then on us to make sure that we carve out time to find that balance. To me, whatever is going on in my life, I find an hour a day to get on my mat. Yoga does it for me. It's my place where I recenter, re-energize, and replenish. So I hope you can all find something that gives you that, because if your cup is empty, you cannot fill another's cup. And then lastly, for me personally, I'm a Baha'i, and I find a sense of grounding and a sense of community from the Baha'i faith. So personally, for me, I want to be of service to humanity. So the fact that every day my team and I get up to be of service to patients brings me joy.
Thank you for such beautiful, invigorating words, which I think we all need as we work and strive to actually be much like you, Dr. Emma Andrews. So on behalf of BMW North America, and thank you, World Women Foundation, we would like to present you with the 2023 Women of the Hour Award.
Thank you so much, Janneidy.